So my definition of panic is like, it's like a feeling in your stomach and like in your rib cage, like your chest, where you can't think about anything except for the thing that you're panicked about. Like you can't get out of thinking about it. Like you can't detach from whatever's happening. You just get so anxious and so caught up in the thing that you are anxious about that you can't get rid of it.
My definition of fear is something or an experience or someone that you haven't yet completely understood, and you just don't know how to deal with it perfectly.
Auditions are scary because you prepare and prepare and prepare for auditions as an actress, and you prepare yourself to the best of your ability, and then you go in and it's one or two people judging you, and they don't know anything about your preparation thus far. They don't know, lots of times they don't know much about your performance background. For the drama club they do, but for like other productions they don't know anything about you, they don't know anything about your ability, and you're just going in there and you have 1 minute to show them everything you've got, and that's your opportunity, and that's what makes it really scary.
A callback causes me fear because you've already made your first impression and you just need to show that you are even better than you did the first time. And it causes me fear because I know that I did a good enough job the first time, and I just need to push through my emotions again and get all my nerves out and do even a better job.
Callbacks cause you fear because you've made it through like the preliminary round of terrifying anxiety. So you've made it through the audition, and then the callback is just saying like, we want to see more of you, but the callback always feels like it has more riding on it, because during the audition you don't know if you have a chance at the part. But by the time you get to a callback, you know that the directors are looking at you and they see potential. So you just want the most of your talent to come out during that callback, because you have a real feasible chance at a callback. Like 2 years ago, I auditioned for a part, and I prepared for it, and I got a callback for it. But pre-audition, it was like, yeah, I really want this part. But once I saw my name on the callback list, I was like, oh, like I have a real opportunity to have that part. Like it's not just a pipe dream. It's within my grasp. I wouldn't say that panic or fear run my life during a show, because generally by the time it gets down to the wire, you have to try as hard as you can to take yourself away from that anxiety when you're on stage, when you're performing, because it shows. I don't know if you've ever seen someone, you can tell when someone is anxious on stage, and as performers we all know that we can tell when each other is anxious. So for me, I really get very serious when it comes down to the performance, because I know that I need to be in my best frame of mind to do my best on stage, and I can't risk petty fears to ruin a performance.
Someone else has talked me into being more panicked than I should have been by, especially at callbacks, doing something that turned out to be completely wrong. And for example, an accent or in a song, completely wrong notes, and you felt so confident coming in, and then just a few minutes before you go on stage to make your impression, you hear that you're doing it completely wrong. And I realize that I don't need to be this fearful, because it's just putting your first example out there, and it doesn't have to be perfect, it's just showing what you can do.
I have definitely talked myself into panic during a show, especially when like you prepare for your audition, you think it's really good, and then you come in and you hear some of the other people, or you watch some of the other people who are going to audition with you, and you realize that they're good and that they're your competition. That's a big thing for me. Like comparing myself to other actresses, it's like, oh wow, like there are other people that are trying out for this part. That's something that makes me anxious, even though it shouldn't be. And also, yeah, like if you mess up, especially during like the rehearsal process, if you forget your music or you forget your blocking or you forget your lines, if you do it more than once, you start like doubting whether or not you were cast appropriately, or like, oh my god, I messed up that line 4 times, everybody hates me, did I do it wrong, like I can't believe I keep doing it, like, and then you doubt your ability as a performer. So I guess in that way I've also talked myself into being more nervous about a show than I should have been. And as far as other people go, sometimes maybe not other people haven't talked me into being nervous, but people who are not prepared make me nervous. So like people who don't take rehearsal seriously, people who aren't prepared for the performance, the other people not dedicating their time make me nervous, because they're going to ultimately make the cast as a whole look bad if they aren't doing their part.
Okay, so does your definition of panic involve the word nervous?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say not always, but they overlap.
So what you're saying is fear, panic, and the word nervous.
They go hand in hand.
All 3 of them go hand in hand.
Yeah. I don't think you can separate the 3, at least in this context you can't.
Does being nervous cause fear?
Or you could say that fear causes nerves.
So they're all 3
Yeah.
entangled.
You can't really have one without the other, at least as far as like performing goes. Because you're scared of messing up, and that makes you nervous. But you're nervous about the performance, which makes you scared you're going to mess up.
And both of those things together is panic.
You could say that too, yeah.
Audition process. Your level of fear or panic on a scale of a 1 to 10.
Pre-audition? Like how much pre-audition? Like are we talking
A week before auditions.
Oh, mine's a small 1.
Small?
1, yeah. An hour before?
Yeah.
Approximately 24.
Out of a scale from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like just a few days, like a day before is where I start.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But like a week before?
Yeah.
Okay.
A week is like a year.
What about
In theater time, really.
waiting for the day that callbacks are posted?
Worst. Literally the worst.
Yeah.
Except the cast list. The waiting for the cast list is the worst. Because you're just
Okay.
like,
Callbacks don't really guarantee you a spot or not a spot. It's just a general statement, but then the cast list.
the cast list, you're like, wow, well look at all the things that are riding on this for me. Oh, wow.
Okay. What about like throughout learning like your lines and all that, going through like the blocking and whatnot? Is it low, or is it particularly lower because you're just kind of relaxed?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your
There's nothing to be
And
nervous
the
about.
rehearsal process is fun. So I'm not anxious doing my blocking on stage because I'm having fun. You know, I'm
But
excited
sometimes
for it.
when you don't remember something, or when you're doing something like, and Mr. Nahat's there and you're doing
And
your
you do
blocking
it
and you don't
wrong,
remember, then you're like,
Then you get a
oh
little
crap,
nervous because you're
what
like,
was my
and then you start like questioning your abilities. Sometimes if you do something wrong more than once in a
Yeah.
row, you're like, oh my god, but like, should I not have been cast? Like, did I do it wrong?
the week that you have like the student viewing and the week before the show, like how are Hell Week.
Tech week, if you don't want to say that, or we've taken to calling it Scarf Week because we don't have to wear
Yeah,
scarves. to protect our voices.
Scarf Week, Hell Week, Tech Week. It's all one and the same. What's your level? I mean, late nights, earlier mornings.
It's a lot of anxiety because it's like you said, we have rehearsal till really late, so there's a lot of like the lack of sleep and the lack of energy contributes to it mostly, but also I like it. It's very serious, and I'm really serious about theater. It annoys people.
yeah, it is serious, and a lot of times people don't take it as seriously, and it's so frustrating when they're just there not focusing and not caring about it. And I think that at that point you kind of want it to just end already, and you're like, these people aren't focusing. How can I be here? I'm spending all my time here, and then the show always makes it worth it, though.
I enjoy Hell Week because I thrive on the doing.
So it's
There's a lot of nerves, but it's mostly like, oh my god, I hope we're ready in time. Because there's always that, okay, the thing with the drama club, at least here, is that we're always panicked for weeks and weeks and weeks thinking that we're not going to get the show done, it's not going to be good, we're going to suck, the dance numbers aren't going to come together, but it always does.
It comes
but it
together.
never comes together until approximately
Like
Wednesday
Tuesday.
night,
Yeah.
Tuesday or Wednesday night before we perform. which is
So
terrifying.
those nerves that you're talking about, are you describing panic?
It's really like the fear we're not going to be ready.
So
the
it's
time
a
crunch.
fear.
I guess you could call it either. It's not
Okay.
it's not stage fright, but it's like the fear that we're not going to be good enough by the time we have to be on stage, that we're not ready. People aren't putting in the time. Yeah.
Okay. What is your panic level or your like fear level after the show? Walking out of this hallway
Oh God.
into
It's
the
like-
crowd of your family and your peers staring at you. You just sang in front of them for 2.5 hours by yourself.
It's a great feeling.
It really is.
It's like even if you know you messed up, it's still like I did it. Like I did it.
Normally the mistakes aren't big enough where they know you made a mistake and they just think it was normal.
And even if they are, like we're trained to fix. Like we're
Yeah.
trained to fix the mistakes. Like during
Stage
guys,
door.
and during Guys and Dolls, actually, I had this big song where I was really drunk and I had all of these words to remember, and I was supposed to like dance around on stage with my scene partner. And I completely forgot the words to the second verse. So I just like made it up as I went along, and I just started like acting really drunk because that was my character during the scene. And I was freaking out when the curtain closed, and I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I messed it up so bad. But I got out there and no one noticed.
Yeah,
And zero
during
people had
stage
no
door,
idea.
there was a long pause with almost.
So bad.
There were probably like
It was at
10
least
girls.
It was at least half the cast on stage.
Yeah,
Probably more than that.
yeah. And, it was just so awkward. No one knew what to say. It was the beginning of Act 2, and the curtains opened, and no one knew the first line that was supposed to go, and it was so that no one could lead off of that, and someone just had to make up a line after a solid minute and a half, which is so long on stage. And
A minute and a half on stage is like I said theater time, like a minute and a half on stage is like hours.
Yeah,
like
and it felt so awkward, and the whole time, I knew everyone was just cringing at it, and you didn't know what to do.
no one
And
had any idea what was going on. It was
because
terrible.
if you would just go to one of your lines that you can think of all of a sudden, you might be cutting off someone else's important words and
That are like plot related.
right.
So
And-
during that scene, someone just said a line because no one was saying anything, and then so we skipped forward 2 pages, but then they realized that we messed up and missed some plot points, so we
So we
went
went
back
back.
2 pages, and then someone was supposed to come on stage and like change the set as part of their blocking, and so they just like ran on at the end of the scene and just like randomly started taking stuff because they just had to cover the mistake.
and no one noticed.
No one noticed.
Well, okay.
So really, it's like going out there, and even if you messed up, it's just like. It's like relief that you did, and
Right.
it's like you're proud of yourself.
So going out there is the absence of fear.
Yes.
It's the
Yeah.
complete
It's the-
opposite. There's,
Yeah.
It's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's the really the performance is the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good way to put it.